You think you know this story. Rich boy meets scholarship girl. He chases, she resists, they fall in love. The end. Wrong. Because Emisi Okonkwo wasn't resisting. She genuinely could not care less about Kwon Jaemin. And Jaemin, he wasn't chasing a challenge. He was drowning in the first real connection of his entire life. This story has a ticking clock, a devastating secret, and an ending that'll make you believe in love and hate it at the same time. Subscribe now or regret it later when everyone's talking about this and you missed it. Every student at Seoul Global Academy knew two things about Kwon Jaemin. He was untouchable, and he was never seen with the same girl twice. The son of Korea's third richest family, with a face that belonged on billboards and a reputation for cold indifference that made him even more desirable. But when Emisi Okonkwo walked into his calculus class 3 weeks into the semester, braids swinging and headphones blocking out the world, she didn't even glance in his direction. And for the first time in his life, Jaemin felt invisible. That feeling would destroy him in the best possible way. Welcome to Afro-Soul Stories, besties. If you're ready for a love story that'll wreck you, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me if you believe in fate, because what happens next is pure destiny. Emisi chose the seat by the window, the one everyone avoided because it was right next to Jaemin's usual spot. She unpacked her materials with methodical precision, her dark skin glowing against the white uniform, her natural hair pulled into intricate braids that probably took hours. Jaemin watched from the doorway as other students whispered, some girls shooting her jealous looks, some guys already calculating their chances. But Emisi seemed completely unaware, or maybe she just didn't care. She opened her textbook and started reading, her full lips moving slightly as she worked through a problem. Jaemin took his seat. Their arms were inches apart. He could smell something floral and warm, probably shea butter mixed with some kind of oil. Up close, she was even more striking, all sharp cheekbones and full features that didn't fit Korean beauty standards, but were beautiful in a way that made those standards seem irrelevant. "You're in my light," Emisi said without looking up, her Korean accented but fluent. Jaemin blinked. No one had spoken to him like that in years. "Excuse me?" "Your head, it's blocking my light. Could you move?" She still hadn't looked at him. He shifted slightly, more amused than offended. Around them, students were staring, waiting for his reaction. Kwon Jaemin didn't get dismissed. He did the dismissing. "I'm Jaemin," he said, offering his hand. "I know who you are." Emisi finally looked at him, her dark eyes unimpressed. "Everyone knows who you are. Everyone's been talking about you since I got here. The untouchable prince of Seoul Global Academy." She turned back to her textbook. "I'm not interested in princes. They're usually just spoiled boys with nice packaging." Someone gasped. Jaemin felt his lips curve into a smile he couldn't control. "You don't even know me." "Don't need to. I've met 100 versions of you in 3 different countries." She scribbled something in her notebook. "Rich, handsome, used to getting everything you want. Let me guess. You're here to see if the new African girl will fall for your charm like everyone else." "Actually, I was going to ask if you understood the homework assignment. It's brutal." Emisi's pen paused. She looked at him again, reassessing. "You're serious?" "Dead serious. I'm failing calculus, and my father will actually kill me if I don't pull my grade up." Jaemin showed her his last test, a 64 in red ink. "So yeah, not here to hit on you, here to beg for help." Something flickered in her expression. Not warmth exactly, but the ice thawed slightly. "Fine, but I charge for tutoring." "How much?" "Lunch. You buy me lunch every day I help you, and you don't make it weird." Jaemin extended his hand again. "Deal." This time, Emisi shook it. Her hand was smaller than his, her grip firm and no nonsense. And when their palms touched, Jaemin felt something electric shoot up his arm. From the way her eyes widened slightly, she felt it too. But she pulled away quickly, turning back to her work like nothing had happened. The first tutoring session happened that afternoon in the library. Emisi showed up with her materials organized, a study plan already mapped out, and zero tolerance for Jamin's usual charm tactics. "Focus," she said when he tried to make small talk. "You're paying me in food, not conversation. I can't ask you anything? About calculus, yes. About me, no." Jamin studied her for a moment. She was wearing the same uniform as everyone else, but somehow it looked different on her. The skirt hid her curves in ways that made his mouth dry. The shirt stretched across her chest in ways that should be illegal. He forced his eyes back to the textbook. "Why Seoul Global Academy?" he asked after 20 minutes of silent work. "That's not about calculus." "I'm taking a break. My brain hurts." Emisi sighed but answered, "My father's a diplomat. We move every 2 years. Seoul's our newest assignment." "How long are you in Seoul for?" Jamin asked casually. Emisi's pen paused for just a fraction of a second. "As long as my father's stationed here. We never know with diplomatic assignments." Not a lie, but not the whole truth either. The Geneva posting letter had arrived 2 weeks before school started. 3 months, maybe 4 if they were lucky, but she couldn't tell him that. Couldn't tell anyone. Building walls was easier than tearing them down later. "Where were you before?" "London. Before that, Lagos. Before that, New York." She tapped her pen against his notebook. "Your turn. Why are you really failing calculus? You're not stupid. I can tell." Jamin hesitated. No one ever asked him real questions. They were all too busy trying to impress him or get something from him. "I stopped caring about school a year ago. My father has my entire life planned out anyway. University in America, business degree, take over the family company. What's the point of calculus when my future's already decided?" "The point is you decide your future, not him." Emisi's voice was sharp. "You have every privilege in the world and you're wasting it feeling sorry for yourself. Some of us have to fight for every opportunity. You don't know my life, and you don't know mine. But I'm not the one failing." She started packing her things. "Tomorrow, same time. And Jamin, bring a better attitude or find a different tutor." She left him sitting there, his chest tight with something he couldn't name. Shame, maybe, or attraction. Probably both. That night, Jamin couldn't stop thinking about her. The way she'd called him out without flinching. The way she'd looked at him like he was just another student, not a prize to be won. The way his name sounded in her accent. The syllables slightly different, but somehow better. He scrolled through social media looking for her accounts, but found nothing. Emisi Okonkwo didn't exist online, which made her even more intriguing. His phone buzzed. His best friend, Park Minho, was calling. "Tell me you're not obsessing over the new girl," Minho said without preamble. "I'm not obsessing." "You are. Everyone saw you at the library." "Jamin, she's not like the others. She's not going to fall at your feet." "I know. That's why I like her." Minho groaned. "This is going to end badly. Girls like her, they're too smart to get involved with guys like us." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means she knows you're temporary. Rich boys don't end up with scholarship girls, especially not ones who look different. Your father would lose his mind." Jamin hung up. He didn't want to think about his father or expectations or the 100 reasons why Minho was probably right. He just wanted to think about Emisi, about making her smile, about earning her respect, about what it would feel like to be seen by someone who actually looked. The next day, Jamin showed up to their tutoring session with coffee and pastries from the expensive cafe near school. Emisi raised an eyebrow. "Trying to bribe me?" "Trying to apologize. You were right yesterday. I was feeling sorry for myself." He pushed the coffee toward her. "Thought you might like this. It's a caramel macchiato. If you don't drink coffee, I can get tea or juice or whatever you want." Emisi took the cup slowly, her expression unreadable. "Thank you." They worked in silence for a while, but it was different now, more comfortable. Jamin actually focused on the problems, and when he got stuck, Emisi explained things patiently, breaking down complex concepts into manageable pieces. She was a good teacher. More than good, she was brilliant. You should be in advanced calculus, Jamin said during their break. I am. This is my easy class. Then why are you wasting time helping me? Misi met his eyes. Because everyone deserves a chance to be better than they are, even spoiled princes. Jamin felt his heart do something stupid in his chest. Have dinner with me. No. Why not? Because I know how this goes. You're interested now because I'm different, because I'm a challenge. But the second I give in, the second I become easy, you'll lose interest and move on to the next girl. Emisi's voice was matter of fact. I've seen it 100 times in every country I've lived in. Rich boys like you don't actually want girls like me. You just like the idea of us. That's not fair. You don't know me. Then prove me wrong. Show me you're different from every other entitled guy in this school. How? Be my friend first. Actual friend. No ulterior motives. No games. Just show up and be decent. She stood, gathering her materials. If you can do that for a month, I'll consider dinner. A month? Too long for you? See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Fine, a month. Jamin stood too. But I'm still buying you lunch every day. That's the deal. They shook on it again, and again Jamin felt that electric current. This time, neither of them pulled away immediately. They stood there, hands clasped, eyes locked, and Jamin saw something flicker in Emisi's expression. Uncertainty, hope, fear. Then she stepped back, breaking the contact. Tomorrow, she said. Tomorrow, he echoed. The month that followed was the longest and best of Jamin's life. He showed up for every tutoring session on time, brought coffee that Emisi actually liked, and slowly, carefully became her friend. He learned that she loved sci-fi novels and hated romantic comedies, that she was fluent in 5 languages and wanted to be a doctor, that she missed Nigerian food but loved Korean fried chicken, that she was scared of disappointing her parents, but more scared of losing herself trying to make everyone else happy. And Emisi learned about him, about the pressure of being Kwon Jamin, about the loneliness of never being seen as a person, only as a status symbol, about his secret love of photography and his dream of traveling the world taking pictures instead of sitting in boardrooms, about his complicated relationship with his father and his fierce love for his younger sister. They became inseparable. Between classes, at lunch, after school. Where Jamin went, Emisi followed, and vice versa. The school talked, of course. Rumors flew. But Jamin shut them down hard, making it clear that anyone who disrespected Emisi would answer to him. And slowly, grudgingly, people accepted their friendship. Sometimes Jamin caught Emisi looking at him with an expression he couldn't read, something sad and guilty and resigned. When he asked about it, she'd always smile and change the subject. The weight of her secret grew heavier each day. 2 months left, then 6 weeks. Each sunset felt like a countdown she couldn't stop. But not everyone was happy about their growing closeness. There was a group of girls led by Song Yuna, who'd been pursuing Jamin since freshman year. They watched his attachment to Emisi with barely concealed rage. One afternoon, Jamin overheard them in the hallway. She's using him, obviously, Yuna said, her voice dripping with venom. Scholarship students always want something, probably trying to secure her future through him. I heard her father's just a low-level diplomat, another girl added. They're practically poor compared to Jamin's family. Someone should warn him before he does something stupid like actually fall for her. Jamin stepped around the corner, his expression cold. Someone like me, you mean? The girls paled. Yuna recovered first, her smile brittle. Jamin, we were just worried about you. Don't be. And if I hear any of you spreading rumors about Emisi again, I'll make sure your family's business relationships with Kwon Enterprises become very complicated. Are we clear? They scattered like startled birds. Jamin pulled out his phone and texted Emisi. Meet me on the roof. Need to see you. She was there in 5 minutes, slightly breathless from climbing the stairs. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. He pulled her into his arms, breathing in her scent. Just needed to hold you. Emisi relaxed against him. Rough day? People are talking. About us. People always talk. She pulled back to look at him. Does it bother you? Being seen with me? Are you insane? Being seen with you is the best part of my day. Jamin cupped her face. Emisi, in 2 days our month is up, and I need you to know that this friendship thing, it's killing me. I want more. I want everything. Jamin, I'm in love with you. I know it's too soon, and I know I'm probably scaring you right now, but I don't care. I'm completely, desperately in love with you. Emisi's eyes were wide, her breathing shallow. You can't say things like that. Why not? It's true. Because it makes this so much harder. Her voice cracked, and the secret she'd been carrying felt like it would crush her. Tell him. Tell him now. But the words stuck in her throat. Jamin, there's something... Are you sure about this? Emisi interrupted herself, her heart pounding. Getting involved with me might be more complicated than you think. I don't care about complicated, he said, pulling her closer. If only he'd asked what she meant. If only she'd had the courage to tell him. But fear won, as it always did, and the moment passed. So what does this mean? Emisi whispered instead. It means I want to date you. Really date you. No more pretending we're just friends when everyone can see we're crazy about each other. Emisi grabbed his face, pulling him down to kiss her. It was desperate and sweet and tasted like all the words she couldn't say. When she pulled back, her eyes were fierce. Okay, yes, let's do this. Let's be everything we want to be. Yeah? Yeah. And silently, she promised herself she'd tell him soon. Just not today. Not when he was looking at her like she was his whole world. Kiss me again, she said, please. Jamin kissed her like his life depended on it. And maybe it did, because Emisi had become the axis his world spun on, even though neither of them knew how fragile that axis really was. If you're crying right now, you're not alone. Drop a heart emoji in the comments and hit that subscribe button because this story is about to break your heart before it heals it. Those next weeks became a countdown clock Emisi heard ticking in the background of everything they did. Jamin and Emisi stopped pretending to be just friends. They held hands in the hallways, kissed between classes, and ignored the whispers that followed them everywhere. His calculus grade had improved to a solid A, but they still met for their tutoring sessions, using them as excuses to be alone together. Jamin took her to places he loved in Seoul. They explored Bukchon Hanak village, ate tteokbokki from street vendors in Myeongdong, watched the sunset from Namsan Tower. He photographed her constantly, building a collection of images that captured her laughter, her thoughtful silences, the way she looked at him when she thought he wasn't watching. Why do you take so many pictures of me? Emisi asked one evening as they sat by the Han River. Because I'm terrified of forgetting how you look right now, happy and here with me. Forgetting the way the light hits your skin, forgetting any single moment of this. Jamin lowered his camera. These photos are my insurance policy against time. Emisi took his hand, guilt twisting in her stomach. 3 weeks left. She should tell him. Had to tell him. Jamin, I need to... You won't forget me, right? He interrupted, his voice vulnerable in a way she'd never heard. You don't know that. People forget. They move on. They find someone new. They convince themselves that what they felt wasn't real. Is that what you think will happen? You'll forget me and move on? Never. And that was the truest thing she'd ever said. But I'm terrified you will. She climbed into his lap, straddling him right there on the riverbank. Kwon Jamin, listen to me very carefully. You are unforgettable. What we have is unforgettable. They kissed until they were breathless, until other people started staring, until Jamin's phone buzzed with increasingly irritated texts from his driver. When they finally pulled apart, Emisi rested her forehead against his. the confession dying on her lips once again. "Tell him tomorrow," she promised herself. Tomorrow for sure. But tomorrow never came because making every second count became increasingly difficult as external pressures mounted. Jamin's father found out about their relationship through the school's parent network. He summoned Jamin to his office, and the meeting was every bit as brutal as Jamin had feared. "A diplomat's daughter," his father said, his tone carefully neutral. "Nigerian. Her name is Emisi. I know her name. I know everything about her. Excellent grades, multiple languages, impressive volunteer record. She's clearly intelligent." Jamin waited for the other shoe to drop. "She's also leaving in 3 weeks." "I know." "And you're planning to do what exactly? Pine for her from across the world? Throw away your future for a high school romance?" "It's not just a high school romance." Jamin's voice was steady. "I love her." His father's laugh was bitter. "You're 17. You don't know what love is." "You've been saying that a lot lately. Maybe the problem isn't that I'm too young to know love. Maybe it's that you've forgotten what it feels like." The slap came fast and hard, snapping Jamin's head to the side. His father had never hit him before. They stared at each other in shocked silence. "I'm sorry," his father said finally. "That was inappropriate." Jamin touched his burning cheek. "You're right. I am 17, but I know that when I'm with Emisi, I want to be better. I work harder. I think more clearly. I care about my future because I want to be worthy of her. That's what love does. It elevates you. And when she leaves, what then? Then I'll wait. I'll finish school, I'll go to university, and when the time is right, I'll find her again." "That's the stupidest plan I've ever heard." "Maybe, but it's my plan, my life, my choice." Jamin stood. "You can accept it or not, but I'm not giving her up. Not for you, not for anyone." He left before his father could respond. Outside the building, his hands were shaking. He called Emisi. "My father knows," he said when she answered. "He knows everything." "What did he say?" "That I'm throwing my life away, that you're a mistake, that I'm too young to know what I'm feeling." There was a long pause. "Maybe he's right." "Don't." Jamin's voice was sharp. "Don't you dare start doubting this now. I'm not doubting us. I'm doubting whether I have the right to let you sacrifice so much for me, your relationship with your father, your future, all of it. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing you. What if you regret it? The only thing I'll ever regret is not fighting hard enough to keep you." Emisi was crying now. He could hear it in her breathing. "I love you. I'm so in love with you it terrifies me." "Then be terrified with me. Be terrified and in love and completely insane together." Jamin leaned against the building. 3 weeks, Emisi. We have 3 weeks to be us without holding back. I don't want to waste any more time being scared." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying come over tonight. My parents are at a charity gala until late. I'm saying I want you in my space, in my bed, in my life, without any walls between us." "Jamin, I want all of you. Everything you're willing to give. Please." The word hung between them, desperate and pleading. Finally, Emisi spoke. "Send me your address." 2 hours later, Emisi stood in Jamin's penthouse apartment, her eyes wide as she took in the luxury that was his normal. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul, artwork that probably cost more than her family's annual salary, furniture that looked like it belonged in museums. "This is where you live?" she asked, slightly breathless. "This is where I sleep. You're where I live." Jamin took her coat, his hands gentle. "Are you nervous?" "Terrified." "Me too." "Really? But you've done this before. Not with someone I love. Not with someone who matters." He led her to his room, smaller than the rest of the apartment but unmistakably his. Photos covered one wall, most of them his own work. Books were stacked everywhere. A guitar sat in the corner. Every other time was just physical. This is different. You're different." Emisi turned to face him, her dark eyes serious. "I've never done this at all." Jamin's breath caught. "Never?" "Never. I always thought I'd wait until I was older, until I was sure. But then I met you, and suddenly I'm sure. I'm more sure of this than I've been of anything in my life." He crossed to her slowly, giving her time to change her mind. "We don't have to. We can just talk, just be together." "I want to. I want this memory with you. I want to know what it feels like to be yours completely." But even as she said it, guilt twisted in Emisi's stomach like a living thing. She should tell him? Should confess that she'd known since before they even met that this had an expiration date? That her father had told the family about Geneva the week before school started? That she'd walked into Seoul Global Academy already knowing she had 3 months maximum? She'd kept it secret, thinking it would protect her heart, make it easier not to get attached. What a stupid, naive plan that had been. Jamin kissed her then, soft and reverent, and the confession died in her throat once more. Tomorrow, she promised herself. After tonight, after this perfect memory, she'd tell him everything tomorrow. They moved to his bed slowly, layers of clothing falling away between kisses. He'd imagined this moment 100 times, but the reality was so much more intense. Every touch felt sacred. Every sound she made embedded itself in his memory. He worshipped her body with his hands and mouth, learning what made her gasp, what made her arch into him, what made her say his name like a prayer. When they finally came together, Emisi's nails dug into his shoulders and tears leaked from the corners of her eyes. Jamin kissed them away, moving with her slowly, gently, making sure she felt cherished, not just desired. "I love you," he whispered against her throat. "I love you, I love you, I love you." "Show me," she breathed back, even as her heart broke with the weight of her secret. "Show me how much." He did. With every movement, every touch, every whispered word, he showed her. And when they finally fell apart together, gasping and tangled and complete, Jamin knew with absolute certainty that he'd never love anyone else like this. Emisi had imprinted herself on his soul, and no amount of distance or time would ever change that. Afterwards, they lay wrapped around each other, her head on his chest, his fingers tracing patterns on her skin. 3 weeks, Emisi said quietly, the guilt nearly choking her. "Jamin, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you a long time ago." "What is it?" He tilted her face up to look at him, concern in his eyes. The words stuck in her throat. She looked at his face, so open and trusting and full of love, and she couldn't do it, couldn't shatter this perfect moment. "I love you. So much it scares me." "I love you too." He kissed her forehead. "We're going to figure this out. I promise." Emisi closed her eyes, hating herself. Tomorrow. She'd tell him tomorrow for sure. But tomorrow never came, because the next day everything fell apart in ways neither of them anticipated. Someone had been taking photos of them together, intimate photos of them kissing, holding hands, leaving each other's apartments late at night. Those photos were posted anonymously all over social media, accompanied by vicious commentary about interracial relationships, about Emisi being a gold digger, about Jamin ruining his family's reputation. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Emisi's social media, which she rarely used, was flooded with hate messages. Someone spray-painted slurs on her family's apartment door. Girls at school cornered her in the bathroom, their words cutting and cruel. Jamin found out when Emisi didn't show up for their lunch date. He tracked her down in an empty classroom, curled up in a corner, crying silently. "What happened?" He dropped to his knees beside her. "Emisi, talk to me." She showed him her phone. The messages were vile, racist, threatening. Someone had even found her mother's workplace and sent the photos there, causing a scene that resulted in a formal complaint to the diplomatic corps. "My father's furious, not at me, at the situation. but he's talking about requesting an early transfer, leaving this week instead of next. Her voice broke completely. And Jaemin, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you months ago. Jaemin's stomach dropped. What? I knew. From the beginning, from the very first day of school, I knew we were leaving. My father got the Geneva assignment in August before I even walked into that calculus class. I knew I only had a few months here. The color drained from Jaemin's face. You knew? I didn't plan to fall for you. I was protecting myself, keeping walls up so I wouldn't get hurt. That's why I was so cold at first, why I kept pushing you away. Tears streamed down her face. But then you broke through every defense I had, and suddenly I was in too deep to confess without losing you. So I stayed quiet and told myself I'd tell you when the time was right. But there was never a right time. 3 months. Jaemin's voice was hollow. You let me fall in love with you knowing you were leaving in 3 months? I fell in love with you too. That was never fake. These feelings, everything between us, that's real. But you lied. Every day you lied by not telling me. I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Jaemin stood, pacing the small classroom. Every time I talked about our future, made plans, imagined how we'd make this work, you knew it was all temporary. Were you just humoring me? Pitying me? No, Jaemin, no, I was terrified. Terrified of exactly this moment, of seeing that look on your face. What look? Like I've destroyed you. He stopped pacing, his eyes meeting hers. And despite the hurt and betrayal burning in his chest, he saw the truth of her pain. Saw the girl who'd moved so many times she'd learned to protect herself by never fully arriving anywhere. Saw the fear that had driven her silence. You should have told me, he said finally. From the beginning, I deserved that choice. You're right. You did. And I was selfish and scared and wrong. Emisi stood on shaking legs. I understand if you can't forgive me, if this changes everything. Jaemin wanted to be angry, wanted to rage and storm out and make her hurt the way he was hurting. But looking at her tear-stained face, all he felt was a desperate need to hold her. It does change everything, he said quietly. Because now I know that the girl I love is human, makes mistakes, gets scared and does stupid things to protect herself. He crossed to her. Just like I do, just like everyone does. Jaemin, I'm hurt, I'm angry, but I also understand. He cupped her face. You've been moving your whole life, never getting to keep anything or anyone. Of course you tried to protect yourself. I just wish you'd trusted me enough to be honest. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know. He pulled her into his arms. And we'll work through this. But Emisi, no more secrets. Whatever happens next, we face it with complete truth. No more secrets, she promised, even if the truth is ugly. They stood there holding each other as the world continued falling apart around them. Because now, Emisi didn't just have the hurt of leaving. She had the added weight of his betrayal, of his knowledge that she'd kept this from him all along. I need to go home, she said finally. My father is waiting. But Jaemin, I love you. Please believe that was always real. I know it was. He kissed her forehead. We'll figure this out. Somehow. She left and Jaemin felt his world collapse. The betrayal cut deeper than the impending separation. She'd known. All those times he'd talked about their future, made plans, imagined scenarios where they'd make long-distance work. She'd known it was temporary. Had she been humoring him? No, he knew her better than that. She'd been protecting herself in the only way she knew how. But underneath the anger was understanding he didn't want to feel. He knew why she'd done it. Hadn't he done the same thing with his own walls before meeting her? The difference was she'd had the courage to tear his down while keeping her own intact. He pulled out his phone and started making calls. He had resources, connections, power that he'd never fully utilized. It was time to use them. By that evening, Jaemin had identified the students who'd posted the photos. Song Yuna and her friends, bitter and vindictive. He called his father. "I need your help," Jaemin said without preamble. "With what?" "Destroying some people's futures, completely and permanently." His father was silent for a moment. "Tell me everything." Jaemin explained the situation, and he heard his father's anger building. "They posted photos of you and Emisi? Sent them to her mother's workplace? Threatened her family?" "Yes." "Give me their names." "Dad, I need you to understand something. I love Emisi. This isn't a phase or rebellion. This is real, and these people are trying to destroy her because of it." "I know it's real, son. I saw it in your eyes weeks ago. And nobody threatens a Kwan or someone a Kwan loves. Send me those names." Within 24 hours, Song Yuna and her friends had been expelled from Seoul Global Academy. Their family's business relationships with major Korean corporations mysteriously soured. University acceptance letters were somehow lost in processing. It was ruthless and efficient and exactly the kind of power Jaemin had always hated about his world. But for Emisi, he'd use every weapon available. The photos were scrubbed from social media through legal threats and technical measures Jaemin didn't fully understand. Public apologies were issued, and Jaemin's father personally called Emisi's father to apologize for the harassment and assure him it wouldn't happen again. But the damage was done. When Jaemin finally saw Emisi again 2 days before her scheduled departure, she looked exhausted and defeated. "Thank you for what you did," she said. "Your father called mine. The situation is handled." "But you're still leaving early?" "No, we're leaving as originally planned. My father changed his mind about the early transfer." "Then why do you look like someone died?" Emisi sat down on the bench where they'd first really talked. "Because I realized something. When this happened, when everything exploded, your first instinct was to use your family's power to fix it, to destroy people, to make problems disappear through money and influence. I was protecting you. I know, and part of me is grateful, but part of me is terrified because it reminded me that we live in different worlds. You can make problems disappear. I have to live with consequences. You can snap your fingers and ruin lives. I have to fight for every opportunity. So what are you saying?" "I'm saying that I love you. Completely, desperately, probably forever. But I'm also saying that maybe we need distance to figure out who we are separately before we can be together properly. And I'm saying I'm sorry for not trusting you with the truth from the beginning. You deserved better than my fear." Jaemin felt tears burning his eyes. "I know who I am. I'm yours." "You're 17, Jaemin. So am I. We're still becoming ourselves. And I need to become someone in my own right, not just as an extension of you and your world, someone brave enough to be honest, even when it's hard." "Then become that person. I'll wait. I already told you I'd wait. And what if waiting changes us? What if in 2 years or 5 years, we're different people who don't fit anymore? Then we'll find new ways to fit. Emisi, I'm not giving up on us." She kissed him then, soft and sad. "I'm not asking you to give up. I'm asking you to let me go properly, to say goodbye instead of see you later, to release each other with love instead of holding on so tight we both break. I can't do that. You have to, because otherwise we'll both spend the next however many years in limbo, unable to move forward, unable to let go, and that's not fair to either of us." Jaemin wanted to argue, to fight, to refuse. But looking into her eyes, he saw the determination there. The love, yes, but also the certainty that this was the right choice. 2 days, he said finally. "Give me 2 more days of us, and then I'll let you go. I'll say goodbye properly. But please, Emisi, don't ask me to stop loving you. I'll let you go, but I won't stop loving you. I would never ask you to stop loving me, because I'll never stop loving you." They spent their last 2 days together living an entire lifetime in 48 hours. They talked about everything and nothing, made love with desperate intensity, cried and laughed and held each other through every emotion. Jamin photographed her obsessively, building his archive of memories. And Emisi wrote him letters, dozens of them, to be opened on specific dates over the next 5 years. On her last night in Seoul, they sat on Jamin's balcony wrapped in blankets, watching the city lights. "Tell me your plans," Jamin said. "I need to know what you're working toward." "Medical school, somewhere in America, probably. My father's next posting after Geneva is likely Washington, D.C., so I'll probably end up on the East Coast. Johns Hopkins is my dream." Johns Hopkins, Baltimore. I'll remember that. What about you? Art school, photography, maybe NYU if I can get in. Somewhere I can develop my voice as an artist. New York to Baltimore, that's only a few hours. I know. They fell silent, the implications hanging between them. Maybe in 4 or 5 years, they'd both be on the East Coast. Maybe the universe would align to bring them back together. Maybe was a dangerous word, but it was all they had. "I forgive you," Jamin said suddenly, "for not telling me from the beginning. I understand why you didn't." Emisi looked up at him, surprise in her eyes. "You do? You were scared. You'd moved so many times, lost so many people. Building walls made sense. I just wish—" His voice cracked. "I wish we'd had more time. Real time, without that secret hanging over you." "Me too. If I could go back, I'd tell you that first day. I'd risk the heartbreak for more honest time with you. We can't go back, but we can go forward honestly. No more secrets, Emisi. Whatever happens next, we face it with complete truth." "No more secrets," she promised. "Just us, honest and real and terrified together." The next morning, Yemen drove Emisi and her family to the airport. Her parents tactfully gave them space for a final goodbye, and Jamin walked Emisi as far as security would allow. "This is it," she said, her voice shaking. "This is see you later," Jamin corrected. "Not goodbye, never goodbye." "Jamin, let me have this. Let me believe that someday, when we're both who we're meant to be, we'll find each other again. Please." Emisi nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Okay, see you later. See you later." He kissed her one last time, pouring everything into it. Every promise, every hope, every ounce of love, every bit of forgiveness. When they finally broke apart, they were both sobbing. "Go," Jamin said, "before I lose my nerve and beg you to stay. I love you. I love you more. Not possible." He watched her walk through security, watched her turn back 3 times to wave, watched until she completely disappeared from view. Then he walked back to his car and broke down completely, his driver discreetly raising the privacy screen to give him space to fall apart. The next 2 years were the hardest of Jamin's life. He threw himself into photography with obsessive intensity, his work dark and emotional and raw. His portfolio caught the attention of major art schools, including NYU. His grades, boosted by those months with Emisi, stayed strong, and he carefully avoided any romantic entanglements, unable to even consider anyone else. He opened Emisi's letters on their designated dates. Some were sweet, reminiscing about their time together. Some were encouraging, pushing him to chase his dreams. Some were heartbreaking, acknowledging how hard the distance must be. And some apologized again for the secret she'd kept, for the trust she'd broken. Each one was signed the same way, "Forever yours, even from far away." Yemen kept his promise. He let her go, didn't contact her, gave her the space she'd asked for. But he never stopped loving her, never stopped working toward a future where they might find each other again. In Geneva, Emisi flourished. She graduated top of her class, got accepted to multiple prestigious universities, and ultimately chose Johns Hopkins for their exceptional medical program. She dated occasionally, trying to move on, but no one made her feel what Jamin had made her feel. No one saw her the way he had. Every relationship felt like a pale imitation of what she'd lost. She thought about reaching out 1,000 times. Late nights when studying got overwhelming, when she was lonely, when something reminded her of him. But she'd been the one to ask for distance, and she owed it to both of them to see it through, to become the person she'd promised to become, someone brave enough to love honestly. 3 years after they'd said goodbye, Jaemin got his acceptance to NYU. He was sitting in his apartment in Seoul, the acceptance letter in his hands, when his phone rang. His father. "Congratulations on NYU," his father said. "I'm proud of you." "Thanks, Dad. I have something for you, an address. Baltimore, Maryland." Jaemin's heart stopped. "What?" Emisi Okonkwo, currently in her first year at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. She's living off campus with 2 roommates. Here's her address. "How did you—" "I've been keeping track, making sure she was okay, that she was safe. I figured when the time was right, you'd want to know where to find her." "Does she know? That you've been watching over her?" "No. And she doesn't know I'm giving you this information. What you do with it is your choice, Jaemin. But you're both adults now. You've both built the futures you wanted. Maybe it's time." Jaemin stared at the address his father was dictating. "Thank you. Go get your girl. For real this time." 3 months later, Jaemin moved to New York. He settled into NYU, started classes, built his new life. But every weekend, he thought about getting on a train to Baltimore, about showing up at Emisi's door, about seeing if what they'd had could survive 3 years of distance and growth, could survive the betrayal and forgiveness. He made it to Penn Station twice before turning back. What if she'd moved on? What if she didn't feel the same? What if seeing him again just reopened old wounds? The decision was made for him on a cold November day. Jaemin had an exhibit of his work at a small gallery in Manhattan, his first professional show. His photographs explored themes of love and loss, connection across distance, and finding beauty in separation. Many of them featured a mysterious woman whose face was never fully shown, just glimpses of dark skin, braids, elegant hands. The show was well attended, garnering positive reviews. Jaemin was talking to a curator when he felt the hair on the back of his neck stand up. He turned. Emisi stood in the doorway of the gallery. She was different, older, more sophisticated. Her hair was in locks now instead of braids, hanging past her shoulders. She wore a long coat over professional clothes, glasses perched on her nose. But her eyes were the same, warm and brown and seeing right through him. They stared at each other across the crowded gallery. 3 years of distance, of growth, of becoming who they'd promised to become. And none of it mattered, because the pull between them was still there, stronger than ever. Jaemin excused himself from the conversation and crossed to her slowly. "You're here." "I'm here." Emisi's voice was shaky. "I saw the announcement for your show. I've been following your work online. Jaemin, it's extraordinary." "You've been following my work?" "For 2 years. I couldn't help myself. I needed to know you were okay, that you were achieving your dreams." "I've been doing the same. Johns Hopkins, top of your class, research on infectious diseases. Emisi, you're brilliant." They stood there drinking each other in. Jaemin noticed her hands were trembling. "I should go," Emisi said. "I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to see your work in person, to see you. But you're busy and I—" "Don't." Jaemin caught her hand. That same electric feeling 3 years later. "Please don't leave. Not again." "Jaemin, I let you go. I gave you space like you asked. I became the person I wanted to be. And now you're here, and I'm here, and I need to know if there's any chance, any possibility that we could try again." Emisi's eyes filled with tears. "I've missed you every single day for 3 years. I tried to move on, but no one was you. No one even came close. And I'm so sorry, still so sorry for not being honest with you from the beginning. I forgave you for that a long time ago. We were kids, Emisi, scared kids doing the best we could. Then have dinner with me. Tonight. Right now. Let me feed you and talk to you and prove that I've grown into someone who chooses honesty over fear. That what we had wasn't just teenage intensity, that it was real, and it's still real, and it can be real again. She was crying now, nodding. Yes. God, yes. Jamin pulled her into his arms right there in the gallery, holding her like she was the only solid thing in the universe. She held him back just as tightly, both of them shaking with relief and joy and overwhelming love. I found you, Jamin whispered against her hair. I told you I'd find you. Took you long enough. Emisi laughed through her tears. I've been in Baltimore waiting. Never again. I'm never letting you go again. They went to dinner at a Nigerian restaurant Jamin had found months ago, hoping for a moment like this. Over jollof rice and plantains, they caught up properly. Emisi talked about medical school, her research, her plans to specialize in tropical medicine. Jamin talked about his photography, his growing reputation, his upcoming solo show at a major gallery. We did it, Emisi said at one point, wonder in her voice. We became who we said we'd become. And now? Jamin took her hand across the table. What happens now? Now we figure it out. Together. I'm in Baltimore during the week, but weekends are flexible. You're in New York, but trains run both directions. I don't want weekends. I want every day. So do I. But we're both building careers, Jamin. We have to be realistic. Then I'll be realistic. I'll take every moment I can get. Weekends, holidays, stolen afternoons. Whatever you can give me, I'll take it and be grateful. He raised her hand to his lips. Because I love you, still, always, forever. That hasn't changed. I love you too. That never changed either. They talked until the restaurant closed, then walked through Manhattan holding hands, making up for 3 years of not touching. When Jamin finally walked Emisi to Penn Station for her train back to Baltimore, she pulled him into a deep kiss. Come visit me next weekend, she said. I want to show you my world now, and I want you in it. I'll be there. I'll be wherever you are. True to his word, Jamin showed up in Baltimore the following Friday. Emisi met him at the station, and seeing her on her home turf was revelation. She was confident here, established. She showed him Johns Hopkins, introduced him to her friends, took him to her favorite study spots. And that night, in her small bedroom in the apartment she shared with roommates, they made love with the sweetness of rediscovery. This feels different, Emisi said afterward, curled against his chest. We're different. Better different. Definitely better. We're not kids anymore, desperately clinging to something we're afraid to lose. We're adults choosing each other with full knowledge of what that means. And what does it mean? It means fights about whose city we visit. It means exhausting train rides and missed phone calls and all the complications of long distance. But it also means partnership, support, building something real together. It means honesty, even when it's hard. Jamin kissed the top of her head. I can handle complications, as long as I have you. They made it work for the next 2 years. Jamin spent weekends in Baltimore. Emisi came to New York when her schedule allowed. They fought sometimes about the distance, about missed dates, about the strain of maintaining a relationship across cities. But they also grew stronger, learning to communicate better, to support each other's dreams while building their own. And most importantly, they learned to be honest with each other, even when the truth was difficult. Jamin's photography career took off. His work was featured in major publications, exhibited in galleries across the country. He developed a signature style exploring multicultural relationships, the beauty of difference, the courage of love across boundaries. His muse, though never explicitly named, was obviously Emisi. Emisi excelled in medical school, graduating near the top of her class. She matched for residency at a hospital in Brooklyn, which meant moving to New York. When she told Jamin, he literally picked her up and spun her around in joy. We're going to be in the same city, he said, his face buried in her neck. Actually, the same city. No more train rides. We'll still be busy. My residency hours are brutal. I don't care. You'll be close. I can bring you dinner during night shifts. I can wake up with you. We can actually build a life together. They moved in together 6 months later, a small apartment in Brooklyn that was theirs. Jaimeen set up a studio in the second bedroom. Emisi claimed a corner for studying. They learned each other's rhythms all over again, this time with the intimacy of daily life. It wasn't always easy. Emisi's residency hours were crushing. Wayman traveled frequently for work. They still fought, still struggled with balancing two demanding careers. But they also had quiet mornings over coffee, lazy Sundays in bed, dinners where they actually sat across from each other instead of across a phone screen. 1 year into living together, Jaimeen proposed. He took Emisi back to Seoul, to the exact spot where they'd first kissed as teenagers. Down on one knee with the Seoul skyline behind him, he pulled out a ring he'd designed himself. Emisi Okonkwo, you have been my friend, my love, my inspiration for 8 years. You've challenged me, supported me, and loved me through every version of myself. You've taught me about forgiveness and honesty and what it means to truly know someone. And I can't imagine spending my life with anyone else. Will you marry me? Emisi was crying, her hands over her mouth. We said goodbye here. And now I'm saying hello to forever. Please say yes. Yes, 1,000 times yes. They married a year later in a ceremony that blended both their cultures beautifully. Nigerian traditions mixed with Korean customs, creating something entirely unique and entirely them. Emisi's father walked her down the aisle with tears in his eyes, shaking Jaimeen's hand firmly before placing Emisi's hand in his. You've earned this, he said simply. Jaimeen's father, once so opposed, gave a toast about the power of real love to change people. My son taught me that love isn't weakness, it's the strongest thing we have. And watching him love Emisi has been the greatest privilege of my life. Watching him forgive her, watching them grow together, watching them choose each other every single day, that's what love really is. As they danced their first dance as husband and wife, Emisi looked up at Jaimeen with shining eyes. We made it, she said, from teenagers who were told it was impossible to this. I told you I'd find you. I told you I'd wait. Best decision I ever made was blocking your light that first day. Jaimeen laughed, spinning her gently. Best decision I ever made was refusing to be ignored. Second best was forgiving you, and the absolute best was choosing you every day after. I love you, Kwon Jaimeen. Thank you for seeing past my fear to who I really was. I love you, Kwon Emisi. Thank you for teaching me what real love looks like. If this story touched your soul, made you believe in love again, made you cry or smile or feel something real, do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment from Jaimeen and Emisi's journey. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that love wins, that distance doesn't destroy real connection, that even betrayal can be healed with honesty and forgiveness, that fighting for someone is always worth it. Because this story isn't just entertainment, it's hope. It's proof that when two people are meant to be, the universe will move heaven and earth to bring them together. Thank you for watching. Thank you for believing in love. And remember, your person is out there. Don't give up. See you soon.